Hey everyone, welcome back to another deep dive into Asian folklore horror. Tonight, we're heading to one of the busiest aviation hubs in the world, Hong Kong International Airport, also known as Chek Lap Kok. This gleaming modern facility handles over 70 million passengers a year. But what most travelers don't know is that this airport was built on reclaimed land that required the leveling of mountains, the destruction of fishing villages, and the displacement of countless graves. In Chinese belief, disturbing burial sites without proper rituals invites catastrophe. What I'm about to share comes from a security supervisor who worked the graveyard shift for over a decade. His story involves a passenger who boards flights but never disembarks, and the terrifying night he finally saw her face. Stick around until the end, because I'll explain why airports are particularly vulnerable to hauntings and the secret rituals Hong Kong Airport performs that they'll never officially acknowledge. Hong Kong International Airport was only been very important, with their working to another officially value into aboard there. Hong Kong International Airport performs that they'll never officially acknowledge. Hong Kong International Airport operates 24 hours a day. Even at 3 a.m., it's never truly empty. There are cleaners, security personnel, maintenance crews, and the occasional red-eye flight. But there's a particular quality to the late-night hours, a silence that settles between announcements, a feeling that you're walking through a space designed for thousands, but occupied by dozens. Our narrator, let's call him Chung, was a 42-year-old security supervisor when this happened in 2015. He'd been with the airport authority since 1999. He was practical, no nonsense, the kind of guy who'd seen it all. Nothing rattled him, or so he thought. When Hong Kong built this airport in the 1990s, the project was massive. They literally flattened Chek Lap Kok Island and merged it with land reclamation. But Chek Lap Kok wasn't uninhabited. It had a fishing village, ancestral halls, and most importantly, old graves, some dating back centuries. In Chinese tradition, disturbing graves without proper rituals is asking for disaster. The government officially states that all graves were relocated with full ceremonies. But workers from that era tell different stories. Stories of excavators hitting unexpected burial sites, of bones discovered and quietly removed, of rushing timelines that didn't allow for proper rituals. In Chinese belief, those whose resting places are disturbed become hungry ghosts, restless spirits trapped between worlds. Airports, with their constant flow of people, their liminal nature as spaces between departure and arrival, are particularly attractive to such entities. Absorbs the stories. Airport staff love to share ghost tales during quiet hours. Stories of gates where passengers reported seeing figures that vanished, of security footage showing people who weren't there. He dismissed them as urban legends. The first oddity happened on a Tuesday in September. Chung was doing his rounds around 2:30 a.m., checking departure gates in Terminal 1. Most gates were closed, shops shuttered, corridors dimly lit. He was passing Gate 63 when he heard it, the sound of someone crying. Soft, feminine, heartbroken sobbing. He walked toward the gate seating area and found it empty. The crying stopped. He looked around carefully, behind seats, near the boarding bridge door, in the nearby bathroom. Nothing. He radioed the control room. "Hey, anything on the cameras for gate 63? I heard something but can't find anyone." Static. Then his colleague's voice. "Nothing on the feeds. Gate's been empty for the last 40 minutes. 3 nights later, it happened again. Same gate, same time, same crying. This time, Chung went to the control room and watched the footage himself. The gate 63 area on the monitor was empty. But standing there, he could hear it. His colleague Wong heard it too. "Gate 63, Wong said quietly. "Everyone knows about Gate 63. Old staff say it's haunted. A woman. They say she boards flights but never gets off. Passengers have reported her. A woman in old-fashioned Chinese clothes, sitting alone, staring out the window. When they check the manifest, her seat is listed as empty." Few weeks, Chung made a point of passing Gate 63 during his late shifts. Sometimes he heard the crying. Once he smelled incense, the kind burned at Chinese funerals. The second oddity came in October. There was a late-night departure to Taipei scheduled for 3:15 a.m. Chung was supervising nearby when he noticed a woman standing near Gate 63, facing the windows, looking out at the tarmac. She wore a cheongsam, a traditional Chinese dress, dark blue with floral patterns. Her hair was styled old-fashioned, pinned up with jade ornaments. "Excuse me, miss. Do you need help? What flight are you on?" She didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge him, just stood there, perfectly still. "Miss?" Chung stepped closer, reaching out to tap her shoulder. The moment his fingers were about to touch her, she vanished. Not walked away, vanished, like mist dissolving. Chung stumbled backward, his heart racing. He ran to the windows, looking down at the tarmac. Nobody. Nothing. Back in the control room, Wong pulled up the footage. It showed Chung walking up to Gate 63, looking around, reaching out toward empty air, then stumbling back. There was no woman, no one in a cheongsam, nothing. "I saw her," Chung said, his voice shaking. "I was 2 feet away." Wong's face was pale. "That's her, the woman everyone talks about." The escalation came 3 weeks later on a foggy November night. Chung was assigned to escort a maintenance crew to Gate 63. There'd been reports of malfunctioning lights. They arrived around 2 a.m. The fog outside was so thick the windows showed nothing but gray murk. While the technicians worked, Chung stood watch. The air felt heavy, oppressive, and it was cold, much colder than the rest of the terminal. One technician called out, "Hey boss, come look at this." In sand among the wires and circuits was a piece of yellowed paper covered in red Chinese characters. "Is that a talisman?" the technician asked. Unresolved was indeed a Taoist talisman, used for protection against spirits. Someone had hidden it during construction. "Don't touch it," Chung said, but the technician had already pulled it out. Lights went out, all of them. Emergency lights kicked in after a few seconds, bathing everything in dim red. And in that red glow, they saw her. She was standing at the window, the woman in the cheongsam, but now they could see her face, pale, beautiful, young, maybe mid-20s, but her eyes were wrong, completely black, like voids, and her mouth was open in a silent, endless expression of grief. She turned toward them slowly, and she began to walk. Not floating, but walking, each step deliberate, her shoes making no sound. The technicians ran. Chung wanted to run too, but his legs wouldn't move. He was frozen, staring at this impossible thing moving toward him. Stopped about 10 feet away, and then she spoke, her voice barely a whisper, but filling the entire space. "Where is my family? Where are my bones?" Chung forced words out. I don't know. This is the new card? What I want." She was Leng. Chung's face wanna bit me, and she said, I don't know. Understand. They moved us, scattered us, broke the earth and scattered our bones. I can't find them. I can't find my way home. We wait here, between departure and arrival, never leaving, never arriving, just waiting, waiting for someone to remember, to make it right. Tears ran down her face, black tears leaving dark trails. Chung stepped backward slowly. I'm sorry for what happened." She tilted her head. "Will you help us? Will you bring us peace?" How can I help?" But before she could answer, the main lights flickered back on. Bright fluorescent light flooded the gate. The woman was gone. Only the smell remained, incense and earth, like a freshly dug grave. Chung contacted a Taoist priest that night. The priest was unsurprised. Is built on disturbed ground. Many spirits were displaced. Some were properly honored, some were not. The ones who remain are those who were forgotten. Can they be helped? Perhaps, but it would require the airport authority to acknowledge the problem. Do you think they will? Chung knew they wouldn't. The priest performed a small private ceremony near Gate 63, leaving offerings and replacing the talisman. It helped, he said, but it wasn't enough without proper acknowledgement. Chung requested a transfer to Terminal 2. He never works Gate 63 anymore, but sometimes, late at night, he catches a glimpse. A woman in a cheongsam, standing at a window, looking out at nothing, waiting for a flight that will never come. In Chinese tradition, proper burial and respect for ancestors is paramount. Disturbing graves without proper ceremonies invites terrible misfortune. Hungry ghosts become trapped in eternal longing and suffering, particularly drawn to liminal spaces like airports. While Hong Kong Airport officially consulted feng shui masters during construction, rumors persist among workers about rushed timelines and incomplete rituals. The airport has never acknowledged any hauntings, but seasoned staff know which gates to avoid at night. What do you think? Is Gate 63 truly haunted by displaced spirits? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more true ghost stories from across Asia. But Serting isn't the only haunted location. Deep in the cargo terminals, workers have reported something far more malevolent, an entity that doesn't just appear and vanish, it follows you home. We're staying at Hong Kong Airport, but moving to the industrial underbelly, the cargo facilities. These massive warehouses handle everything from electronics to human remains being transported for burial. It's here, in Cargo Terminal 5, that workers have reported something aggressive, something that feeds on fear. What I'm about to share comes from a cargo handler in 2017, whose experience led to a complete breakdown. After this story, I'll explain Chinese beliefs about transporting the dead, and why cargo workers rarely discuss what they've seen. Cargo Terminal 5 is located on the northwestern edge of the airport, away from passenger terminals. It's massive, with high ceilings, rows of metal shelving, and during the graveyard shift, it can be eerily quiet. Let's call him Lok, was a 28-year-old cargo handler. He'd worked at the airport for 3 years, handling general freight. In September 2017, he was assigned to the cold zone, a temperature-controlled area storing perishables, pharmaceuticals, and human remains. Supervisor, Uncle Tam, walked him through procedures on his first night. Simple work. Caskets come in, you check documentation, verify seals, log them, store them in the holding room until transport picks them up. Reached the holding room. Uncle Tam unlocked it. Inside was a white-tiled room with metal racks and 3 caskets. Don't open them. Don't move them unnecessarily. And Lok, don't work here alone. Always have someone else in the terminal. Why? Uncle Tam gave him a long look. Just don't. It's safer that way. The first oddity happened during Lok's second week. At 3 a.m., he heard a sound from the cold zone. A rhythmic thumping. Slow, deliberate. Thump, 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 coming from the holding room, like someone knocking from inside. He opened the door. The room looked normal. 4 caskets, 2 urns, all properly secured. The thumping had stopped. But as it was leaving, he noticed something. One casket had condensation on it. Not unusual in a cold room, except the condensation formed a pattern. Handprints, small handprints, like a child's, pressed against the wood from the inside. Fingered Lok backed away slowly. The handprints faded as he watched. The second oddity came 3 nights later. Lok and a coworker named Dai received a casket from San Francisco, an elderly woman being returned to Hong Kong for burial. As they stored it in the holding room, Dai stopped. "You smell that?" There was a smell, sweet and shrewd. And another medal of the caused will be a code in the San Francisco. The second oddity came 3 nights later. Was only way slowly. The condensation formed the undercostoma. There was a smell that, sweet and anywhere. There was a Grateful the Great by General Searcher of Condiments. There was a smell that they were only push it that they have discussed anywhere in Shrums of Land. Like meat left out too long. It's coming from this casket. They checked the seals. Intact. Unbroken. But the smell was definitely stronger near the casket. Uncle Tam came down, checked the documentation, and said, "Sometimes caskets smell after long transit. Put it in the room. If there's a problem, it's the transport company's issue." The rest of the shift was uneventful, but Lok couldn't shake his unease. The escalation began on his next shift. Lok arrived to find the cold zone entrance cordoned off. Uncle Tam and security officers stood outside. What happened? The holding room, the new casket, the one from San Francisco, was found open. Open? How? We don't know. Transport arrived early to pick it up. The casket lid was pushed off, but the body's still inside. Security reviewed footage. The timestamp showed the holding room door locked and secure. No one entered. But at 5:47 a.m., there was a brief flicker in the video. When it cleared, nothing looked different. But that's when the casket must have opened. That night, the thumping started again, louder, persistent. Lok was working alone. His coworker had called in sick. He tried to ignore it, but couldn't. He walked to the holding room. The thumping was definitely inside. He unlocked the door. The room was freezing, colder than it should be. His breath came out in thick white clouds. The thumping stopped. He swept his flashlight across the room. 4 caskets, 3 urns. Everything looked normal, but there was that smell again. Rot, decay. And then he heard it. A voice, whispering in Cantonese. "Leopard, let me out." Locke spun around. The voice came from one of the caskets, the dark wood one. "Let me out, please. Let me out." "Who's there?" "So cold, so dark. Let me out." All better judgment, he found himself walking toward the casket, his hand hovering over the lid. And then something grabbed his ankle. He looked down. A hand, gray, withered, fingers like claws, was reaching from under the casket, gripping his leg with impossible strength. Locke screamed. He kicked frantically, but the grip was iron. The hand pulled, and Locke fell hard. He was being dragged toward the shadows under the casket. Mothers, he grabbed desperately at the floor, at the metal racks. His fingers found a shelf edge and held on. And then he heard more voices, all around him, coming from the caskets, the urns, the walls. "Let us out! Us! Join us!" The lights flickered. In the strobing darkness, Locke saw figures, transparent, flickering, surrounding him, reaching for him. He fumbled for his radio and pressed the emergency button. Minutes, Uncle Tam and security burst in. They found Locke pressed against the wall, babbling. His ankle was bruised and bleeding, with long scratches like fingernail marks. But the room was empty, just caskets and urns, no hands, no figures. Locke never returned to work. He resigned while on medical leave and refused to set foot in the airport again. His fiancée broke off their engagement, unable to cope with his paranoia and night terrors. He moved to Kowloon, got a job as a grocery clerk, sees a therapist, takes medication. But he still has nightmares, dreams of cold rooms and hands reaching from darkness. Uncle Tam retired 6 months later. Before leaving, he told trusted coworkers that the cold zone was a weak point between the living world and the dead, that the concentration of corpses, combined with the airport's disturbed ground, created a kind of doorway. Airport Authority denies any such claims. The cold zone operates normally, but those who work there learn the unspoken rules. Never work alone. Never enter the holding room at night if you can avoid it. And if you hear knocking, walk away. Don't engage. Because sometimes the dead want out, and they'll use whatever means necessary. In Chinese belief, bodies must be handled with respect and kept in proper conditions. Transporting bodies by air, especially internationally, is controversial from a traditional perspective. Some believe trapping a body in an airport's liminal space can agitate the spirit. Could Locke have experienced a psychological break? The isolation, cold, and stress could induce hallucinations, but the physical marks were real. Security footage showed him entering fine and emerging injured and traumatized. What do you think happened? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more true ghost stories from across Asia. But perhaps the most disturbing story doesn't come from workers at all. It comes from a passenger who made the mistake of falling asleep where no one should sleep. Welcome to the final story. We've explored hauntings experienced by workers, but now we're talking about something that could happen to any traveler. A wrong turn, a closed gate, an encounter that changes everything. This comes from an anonymous online account by a British businessman in 2019. His experience in a closed section of Terminal 2 has never been explained. After this, I'll explain why transit zones are considered especially dangerous and the dark history of Terminal 2's closed concourse. Transit passengers live in strange limbo. You're not in your departure country, but haven't arrived at your destination. You're in between, in sterile, fluorescent transit zones, where nationality and normal rules don't quite apply. Our narrator, let's call him David, was a 45-year-old business consultant from London. In June 2019, he was traveling from London to Singapore with a long layover in Hong Kong, nearly 16 hours. He arrived at Terminal 2 around 11 p.m. The terminal was quieter than Terminal 1, older, with sections that seemed perpetually closed off. David wandered, looking for a quiet spot. He walked toward the far end, past closed shops and dimmed corridors. He noticed a concourse branching off to the right. The entrance was partially blocked by a retractable barrier, but not fully closed. No "Do Not Enter" sign. He figured it was just a quiet section. He stepped around the barrier and walked down the corridor. Discharged, the concourse opened into a gate area with about 30 seats, large windows looking onto dark tarmac, closed shop fronts. Completely empty. Perfect. He put in his headphones and closed his eyes. The first oddity came when he woke several hours later. His phone showed 3:40 a.m. He'd slept about 4 hours. But something felt off. It was too quiet. Airport terminals are never completely silent, but here there was nothing. Absolute silence. And it was cold. He could see his breath misting. He stood to leave, then noticed the windows. They were completely black. Not night dark, but painted over black. He couldn't see runway lights, planes, nothing. He walked to the window and pressed his face against it. Nothing. Just absolute blackness. At the far end of the concourse, near a closed shop, something moved. A figure. A woman in what looked like a flight attendant's uniform, old-style Cathay Pacific from the 1980s or 90s, green and white. "Hello? Is someone there?" No answer. The woman stepped slightly into dim light. She stood perfectly still, facing him. "Sorry, I think I'm in a closed area. Is there a way back?" The woman didn't respond. She tilted her head slowly, and then she smiled. Too wide. Too many teeth. David grabbed his bag and walked quickly toward the corridor. But when he reached it, he stopped. The corridor was gone. Where the entrance had been was now a solid wall. White. Blank. He spun around, panic rising. He pulled out his phone. No signal. 0 bars. The time still showed 3:40 a.m. Hadn't changed. Much closer now. She hadn't walked, but she was now only 20 feet away. "What do you want?" She opened her face from the 1970 feet. She opened for him mad. "If you are different when you're mentioned, what's now anything in the woman?" Dad looked it back into the woman. "She looks like him a gray. What do you want?" He looked at Pranav. The corridor was locked. The woman was walked. She was open for layered, multiple voices speaking in dissonance. "You shouldn't be here." "I'm trying to leave. Where's the exit?" "There is no exit. Not for you. Not anymore." David looked around frantically. He spotted an exit sign at the other end and ran toward it. Behind him, footsteps, fast, but they didn't sound normal, too sharp, too rhythmic, like high heels amplified. He reached the exit door and shoved it open. Instead of a stairwell, there was just darkness, empty space. He stopped at the threshold. The stopped behind him. He felt breath on his neck, cold, smelling of chemicals and decay. The woman's voice whispered in his ear, "This is where I died. This is where I wait. And now you'll wait with me." David spun around and saw her up close. Her face was beautiful, but dead. Skin too pale, waxy. Eyes glassy, like a doll's. Her uniform, intact from a distance, was torn and burned, revealing charred skin. "What are you?" "I was crew. Flight 738, August 1989. We crashed. Engine fire. Right here. This concourse was built where we came down. They built over us, over the wreckage, the bodies. They never found all of us. Pieces are still under the foundation. Pieces of us. That was at the old airport. This is Chek Lap Kok. They moved us, moved the earth, the wreckage, filled in the bay. We're in the reclaimed land, in the foundation, and when they built this concourse over us, we could finally reach up, finally touch the living world. Emerged, other crew members, passengers, all in clothing from decades past, all with dead, waxy skin. "I don't want to hurt you," she said. "I just want company. It's so lonely, so dark, so cold. Sometimes someone wanders into our space, someone alone, and we can bring them down, keep them with us." David pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it at her face. She recoiled, hissing. The other figures stopped. "Light! You can't stand light." He swung the flashlight around. In harsh white light, the figures became translucent, flickering. The windows weren't black. They were covered in handprints and faceprints, thousands of them, blocking external light. The wall where the corridor had been shimmered became less solid. He could see through it. David ran. He ran straight at the wall, flashlight held out. The figures shrieked, an awful mechanical sound like metal tearing, and lunged. He hit the wall and stumbled through it. It felt like pushing through thick plastic. He fell into the corridor, scrambled up, and kept running. He burst through the barrier and found himself back in the main terminal. Bright lights, normal sounds, reality. He collapsed against a wall. A cleaner approached, concerned. "Sir, are you okay?" David looked back at the concourse. The barrier was fully extended now. Behind it, complete darkness. A sign he hadn't noticed. Closed for renovation. Do not enter. David reported the incident to security. They were polite but dismissive. The concourse had been closed for months due to structural concerns. They apologized and offered lounge access. Forging online and found sparse information about a 1989 crash near Hong Kong. In an aviation history forum, he found claims that during Chek Lap Kok's reclamation project, fill material was sourced from various sites, including materials from the old Kai Tak airport being dismantled. Some claimed wreckage and remains from old crashes were inadvertently included, though officially denied. Paging David made his flight. He's never transited through Hong Kong again. He books direct flights now, no matter the cost. But sometimes, when he's alone in airports late at night, he catches a glimpse, a flight attendant in an old uniform watching from a distance, and he walks quickly away, never looking back. Transit zones occupy unique legal and spiritual space. You're technically not in any country, existing in international limbo. In folk traditions, liminal spaces are considered dangerous because they're between worlds, weak points where spirits can cross. While there's no official record of Terminal 2's closed concourse being built over crash sites, Hong Kong Airport's construction involved massive earth-moving, and the sourcing of fill material was complex. Urban legends persist among workers about certain areas being particularly troubled. The airport authority maintains all reports are due to disorientation or tiredness. But among frequent travelers, there's a warning. Don't explore Terminal 2 late at night. Don't enter closed areas. And if you see someone in an outdated uniform, just walk away. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more true ghost stories from across Asia. 3 stories, 3 locations. 1 airport built on disturbed ground. Never encounter anything unusual, but a few, the unlucky few who wander too far, stay too late, will learn the truth. That some passengers never leave, some cargo never gets delivered, and some flights never reach their destination. Next time you're in Hong Kong Airport, pay attention. Notice which areas feel colder. Listen for sounds that don't belong. And if you find yourself somewhere too empty, too quiet, turn around. Walk back to the crowds and light. Safe travels, and remember, not everyone who enters an airport makes it to their final destination. Do you have any story for us? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more true ghost stories across Asia.